Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
What we want to see from Rey Mysterio's WWE return in 2018. I'm Ollie Davis, this is Luke Owen. Welcome to this Saturday edition of the WrestleRamble. Well, we're kicking off with the biggest news of the week, I suppose, which was news of Rey Mysterio turning up at the end of that WWE 2K advert and, as Luke is about to tell you, turning up as the pre-order bonus in a 2K game. Probably means you're going to turn up for a Survivor Series match.
Well, it's really interesting because the 2K are the people that reach out to the wrestlers. They were the ones that reached out to Sting. They were the ones that reached out to Goldberg. They were the ones that reached out to Kurt Angle. And it's usually through that kind of like opens a door for then WWE to be like, oh, are you speaking to them? Oh, pass them through and we'll have a chat with them as well. And we'll talk about bringing them in for something. And this has happened with The Ultimate Warrior. Warrior was the cover star
I forgot
of
about Warrior.
2K14, I think he was the cover star of. And Warrior and WWE hadn't been on any good terms for decades, and that was the door that was open for him to go in. And he went into the Hall of Fame, and he then had that moment where he made his speech on the Raw after WrestleMania, and then sadly passed away, essentially on the same day, just 48 hours from being in the Hall of Fame.
That's not connected to 2K.
2K. That's not. No.
That was natural causes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
had nothing to do with WWE 2K14.
Just a very spooky promo in hindsight. And then and the same thing happened with Sting. Sting's alive. Sting's alive. Yes, Sting is very much alive.
Luke, you've got to be clear here.
Same thing happened with Sting. He cut a really weird promo on Raw.
What is this curse? Goldberg was next.
No, Sting's curse is that he was hiding in statues and then got injured in that match with Seth Rollins. Maybe there is a 2K curse. So anyway, Sting was featured on the cover and he was the pre-order bonus, and then he had his WrestleMania match where he lost to Triple H, and then he had his Night of Champions match where he lost to Seth Rollins and had to retire. And we had Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle came back into the Hall of Fame and he's now the Raw GM. Goldberg was on the cover, and then he had the Survivor Series match. So it's all been this really big... It always seems like if you are a DLC for a 2K game, that's likely opening up the door for you to return to the WWE. Apart from the Terminator, that one still hasn't happened.
Well, Triple H came out as the Terminator.
I suppose,
that
yes.
year.
And Terminator did actually introduce Triple H to it, but he hasn't wrestled a match. He hasn't had his Survivor Series match yet.
So there was a terrific advert that played in Raw, and it was
wearing Rey Mysterio masks.
Yeah, were they?
Yeah, that's the whole gimmick.
Pick up on
They're all wearing Mysterio masks and take them off and talk about sort of like what it means, and talking about what Rey is. Like he fights for honor, and he's glorious, and he's this and he's that, and then at the end of it is like, and I'm back.
Hi, I'm
hello, hola, Reggie.
Me wrestle. I completely missed that.
By the way, spot on Rey and Mysterio impersonation.
It's one of my better ones. I completely missed that. I don't know what happened there. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh look, he says their catchphrase, phenomenal, glorious.
Yeah.
And Ray's one. Oh, Ray, he's back. That's cool.
No, that was
that went over my head. That's even cooler than I thought it was.
It's not as cool as some of the other ones they've done. Like
Goldberg
the Goldberg
phenomenal.
One, the Sting one where they had the classical music playing his crow music, and then they all turn around and they're wearing the face paint. That was awesome.
That's actually the best one.
That's the best one. That was really.
And then
cool.
Goldberg was really good.
Yeah, where they were the policeman's feet are doing his music. Loved that. So anyway, and
then there's the Suplex City flash in the mirror.
Yes.
That's good. The 2K are great at making commercials.
Just not games sometimes. But, that is purely conjecture on my part. That's just an opinion-based thing. I'm terrible at video games. That's probably why I don't enjoy it. But
that's probably why you literally wrote a book on video games.
Old video games? Oh, you mean this book? Oh, it's not here. Damn it. Where is it?
No. Well, I threw it away.
It was here.
It's right there, actually. I can see it.
Okay.
I'll let you do a plug.
Oh, thanks, man. I knew it was close by. My book, buy it. It's about video game movies and how they get made.
So, Rey Mysterio.
But anyway,
he's turned up and he's been confirmed as the 2K guy. But in addition to that, there was he said, didn't he, in an interview?
Did, yes. So the talks of Rey coming back to WWE have been going on all year, essentially, because he made a surprise return at the Royal Rumble, and he was an entrant in the Greatest Royal Rumble as well. And there's been talks ever since that January appearance that Rey is coming back to the WWE in some capacity. Now, apparently the sticking point with WWE and Rey doing these negotiations
is the 2K curse.
He's
just worried because he knew he was going to go as the downloadable pre-order character.
Yep.
Yeah, and like,
yeah, one day a lucha beats his final beat and all that. And apparently the sticking point is that he doesn't want to work a full-time schedule, and WWE wants him to work a full-time schedule. He wants to just be a part-time wrestler,
which is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Like, yeah. Rey is really good. And he's done very, like, the independent matches I've seen him in, he's been excellent.
He was awesome at Dominion. In that 6-man tag, he was great.
Yeah, but it's like Kane, who also returned to SmackDown this week. Really great one-off appearances, maybe a few weeks program here and there. You know, maybe 4 programs that don't last longer than a month a year. That doesn't overexpose the whole nostalgia thing, and it doesn't get old too fast. But which a part-time schedule works perfectly for. Also, he's an older guy. The style he wrestles is going to destroy his knees, as they already have done, I presume. So why would you want him as a full-time wrestler?
I think it'd be ridiculous to bring him back as a full-time wrestler. I think you bring him in for a SummerSlam match, maybe a Survivor Series match. You do him as like special attraction matches. That you don't do or a featured match, perhaps a better way to put it. You don't he doesn't need to be in full-time feuds, going for titles and things like that. It
doesn't have to be 205 Live.
No, exactly. Like, treat him almost like you've got Kurt Angle. Just don't make him general manager stumbling over words. Just have him, wrestle these matches every now and again. I think that keeps the mysteriousness of Mysterio alive, one might say.
You imagine if he said that when he took off his
mask. Yeah.
Mysterious. He even fluffed it.
So that's the story. But yes, he did say to Lucha Central on June 19th, marking in your calendars, which is now officially Rey Mysterio Day in San Diego, California, because that's his hometown.
Really?
It's officially Rey Mysterio Day, June 19th.
It doesn't clash with any other days, does it?
Not that I'm aware of.
There's always, every day has like 20 different days.
But only in like specific towns.
Okay, only in San Diego.
Yes.
Stay classy.
Stay classy. So he was doing an interview with Lucha Central where he said to them that they are currently they're in the final stages of negotiating a 3-year deal. So it's a WWE and Rey Mysterio 3-year return. And that it's in the final stages. It's just this final sticking point of the part-time or full-time schedule.
Well, this has been like you said, these reports of Rey being in discussions with WWE have been going on since he made that cameo return at the Royal Rumble this year. The inferior Royal Rumble. Of course, he was at the greater one later in the year. But he's done those New Japan dates in between, which is weird. Maybe that's why they don't want Rey to go part-time, because that means he could wrestle for places elsewhere.
It doesn't necessarily mean so. Like, if you could sign like a Legends deal, which means that you can then wrestle.
Exclusive.
It makes you exclusive to WWE. They still pay you a year's salary. You just don't. You don't end up working with them every single night and doing the house show loops. Also, I think this more or less confirms that Mysterio is going to be in the Hall of Fame next year. I think.
Oh, that's a good shout.
Possibly even as the headliner.
Yeah. So that clip. And this all, as soon as I saw this, I thought they're going to want him back. The YouTube clip of Rey Mysterio's return at the Royal Rumble is last time I checked, is the most watched WWE YouTube clip of the year.
Wow.
Like 15 million views, more than any Ronda Rousey bits, which are, the other highest watched videos.
Even more than we get.
Yeah, shockingly, more than WrestleTalk.
Mate,
just a bit, though.
Just a bit, just a smidge.
And that's their biggest video of the year. And so WWE must have been like, wow, those are numbers that we ridiculously follow these days, the social media and YouTube metrics. So let's get this guy back. Apparently they've been trying to get him back ever since, and they have done with the Greatest Royal Rumble. But yeah, it's weird that that's been the sticking point, because this has been the sticking point for 5 months now. PW Insider, Wrestling Observer Newsletter, they've all said Rey wants a part-time schedule. WWE want him full-time.
Yeah. I just don't see the point of bringing him back full time. But he had that interview as well with a Latino channel talking about what he would like to do and like start up almost the new Latino world order. Because they've got quite a few Latin American stars in the company. You've got Andrade Cien Almas, Gran Metalik, Lince Dorado, Kalisto, Sin Cara. I think that's at least 6.
Yes. Well, so that clip, the interviewer almost leads it. He says, "Oh, so you might return to WWE sometime soon?" And Rey Mysterio goes, "Yeah, we're working on negotiations." And the interviewer says, "Hey, maybe you could do an LWO." And Ray goes, "Yeah, man, LWO 2.0.
Yep.
And then I was like, I'm having that in the story. Ray wants LWO 2.0. So, yes, I mean, in terms of what we want to see from Rey Mysterio in his WWE return, we don't want to see him all the time because, in his last run, I was not a fan of Rey Mysterio.
Do you remember when he came out for the 2014 Royal Rumble? I mean, granted, he got booed because he wasn't called Daniel Bryan, but even so, I think a lot of us at that point were like, I've had enough of Rey now.
The last time I was into a Rey feud was probably 5 years previously against Chris Jericho.
I was going to say, because even when Punk left, quote unquote, when he left and they were doing the tournament to crown a new WWE champion.
Oh, yes, he won.
And Rey won it and was WWE champion. I think a lot of people were like, Rey, eh? That's who you decided to go. And then later on in the night, John Cena won it. So he was WWE champion for about 2 hours.
Yeah. We don't want him all the time. But in terms of if he did come back, I really like the idea, and maybe it's just because this LWO thing's been floated already. I really like the idea of him helping elevate the Kalistos, the Gran Metaliks, the Lince Dorados. I love Sin Cara personally. I think he's a legit badass. And he is.
Yeah.
He is undefeated in backstage real-life fights.
Yeah.
He's beaten up Sheamus. He's beaten up Chris Jericho.
Simon Gotch.
This guy's awesome.
Yep.
So I would like to see Rey as like the veteran help bring up these other guys, or like outside of 205 Live as well.
I was going to say, because unfortunately that slots him very much into a 205 Live category, and unfortunately within the WWE universe, not as in the people who watch the show, but the actual world itself. Once you are part of a brand, you are stuck on that brand and you cannot go any further.
Yeah. And I think because Triple H is in charge of 205 Live and he's obviously, I want to make this succeed, he's not going to give those people up lightly.
No,
because then that
exactly.
sort of breaks the boundaries, and it's very hard to go back from that.
Yeah.
But I'd love, especially on Raw, which is lacking a lot of depth in its mid card, to have a Rey Mysterio. I wouldn't put him with Andrade. Andrade is going to be fine by himself.
Feuding with Andrade would be a much better option. Putting him with Andrade would be an error.
Yeah.
Doesn't need him.
And I also wouldn't have this faction as a heel group.
No.
But one of the positive things, I hate Lucha House Party. As a name, Gran Metalik, Lince Dorado, and Kalisto, some of the best high flyers in the company, and they're called Lucha House Party. What says we're going to lose our match more than being called Lucha House Party?
Even the job squads.
Yes.
Like, you look at that, it's like, well, I mean, they might win. But, like, Lucha House Party has, like, jobbing squads like, written all over it.
Yeah, so that's... Have you got any pitches?
I mean, it seems like the obvious one to have a feud with Andrade, but I'm like, to be honest, because, I mean, Andrade is floundering on SmackDown at the moment. As we mentioned on the SmackDown review, 11 weeks, he's had 2 matches against local competitors. That's done absolutely nothing for him. His backstage promos with Zelina Vega aren't doing anything for him either. It almost feels like a featured feud against Rey Mysterio that you could do at SummerSlam or Survivor Series could elevate Andrade and give him you use Rey to get other people over. Like that's what I would like to see Rey used for. But not just put him against Latin American stars, use him to get other people over as well. Because that's when Andrade came up, the first feud they put him in, what they were going to, was Sin Cara. And I was like, you lazy bastards. Honestly, you should see, they did the exact same thing when Kalisto came up. They were like, you're sort of Spanish, right? Where's Alberto? You two can have a feud, can't you?
It's and I have also fallen into that same trap by creating this LWO 2.0 in my head. But I think that makes sense because they're all high-flying luchadors with masks. But you're right. I would like them to not just be limited to the the Mexicans. But there's also the other rumour that William Regal denied on Twitter, but, by all accounts, it was totally going to happen, of WWE wanting this Latin American tournament for the summer.
Yeah.
But they've gone Mae Young Classic 2, the Mae Young Classic 2 route.
Well, maybe it's part of this local globalization. We always, they've announced NXT UK, what they're going to be doing next. Perhaps the next one could be NXT Mexico, or because my theory, I thought they were going to do NXT Japan would be the next one because they've just signed a working relationship with Noah. In fact, Hideo Itami is going back to work for Noah. He's going to be doing an anniversary show for them later this year, I think. So I thought they were going to announce NXT Japan, which I think is an error because that is a market that I just do not think they understand how to break into. But NXT Mexico, maybe that would be a much more successful thing for them, and you could have then Rey there as your ambassador for that, in the same way you've got Johnny Saint as the ambassador for NXT UK.
Maybe that's why they want him as a full-timer.
Maybe
because
that's it,
he'd wrestle a part-time schedule, but then he'd be a presence,
an on-screen character
on the Latin American tournament.
Yeah.
It's $25 or more Pledge Hammer Patreon shout-out time. That's right, this is the Hall of Fame ring. Get it? There's a ring noise. And if you pledge $25 or more a month to WrestleTalk's Patreon, we will give you a shout-out on the WrestleRamble and induct you with the ring thing. And you'll also get to suggest topics for Fantasy Booking Warfare, which we have an episode coming for you tomorrow.
And mine is very, very bad.
Luke isn't happy with his. I'm surprised at how well mine turned out.
Ollie's is really, really good.
It's lose now.
It's going to be the Ministry of Darkness one-sidedness.
Nah.
It's a landslide victory. It's a landslide victory in the making, I'm telling you.
So that's on Brock Lesnar losing his Universal title. That was the thing. And you can also suggest topics for WrestleRamble Extra, which is the where we choose which pay-per-views to review for our big in-depth show. So thank you, the real true heel, Len Bren.
Jonathan, the Headmaster Headman.
Okay, well, we've got the Mayor of Painesville, Dan, here, but this month he's going in as real Dan's Dan.
He's a Dan, such a Dan,
such a Dan.
He's a real Dan's Dan. Draft House Games.
Lewis Not So Nature Milroy. Not so nature boy Milroy.
Steep Climb James Maccahill.
You sold out, Jay Sellers.
Juan de Dios Infinity Gauntlet.
Let's have a drink, Christopher Travis Merriman.
Kevin Razzmatazz Chapel.
Kevin McBride.
John McBride.
John McBride of Frankenstein. Sorry, I read the previous one.
Will dropped from a great height.
Asuka's future husband and EOF one-man wrecking crew skin trade.
That was his name suggestion.
Well, that's creepy.
Infinite Crisis, Chris Jenkins.
The Real Deal Sex Appeal, Andy Puckett.
Stay Hyped, Kyle Rowley.
Joe the Biddly Bing Bong Business Boy, Kinch.
Have a cup of tea, T. Lee. It's time for some crap gimmicks!
Yay!
Now, we didn't sign any crap gimmicks last week, so maybe we're hoping that this week's inductions might meet the approval of us, the crap gimmick wrestling dudes.
We've got really crap standards.
We have
they have to be specifically crap.
Absolutely. If you're new to this show and you're wondering, what the heck is a crap gimmick? Crap gimmick is a little fun feature that we do here, at least we think it's fun, and some other people do as well, where you submit to us your crap gimmicks to be inducted and become part of the crap gimmick wrestling roster. Think of it like the 90s in WWF. You are a wrestler and a blank, and people come up with lots of punny things, and we enjoy them, and we've got our awesome man Lewis Tillett's making amazing trading cards for these. He's working on one at the moment that I'm really, really excited about. And in fact, I already know which one I want him to do next if we don't sign anyone today.
Yeah, so they're like crap gimmicks that have been signed well in the past. Yeah, I'm thinking your Crispy Bacons.
Crispy Bacons.
We've already had WrestleBot 1000 made.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, the Beastmaster is currently in progress.
That's the one's in progress. Prof Wrestler has been done. I was thinking my one I want to see next is the D&D crew.
Oh, I forgot about them.
I remembered it today, and I was like, that's what I want to see.
Well, who have we got this week?
So, if you want to submit your suggestions for crap gimmick, give me an email. It's luke@wrestletalk.com. If you don't get yours read out, it's because I've got a big old backlog of them, so be patient.
Also, I still want a jingle for this segment. Someone make a jingle. Don't expect us to do our jobs and come up with something fun. We want you to do it for us. That's the point of a community, right?
Exactly.
Delegation.
And thank you for covering me a little bit longer there so I could drink my tea.
Pleasure.
Brandon Powell has suggested fear.
Just one word.
One word.
Like Madonna.
Like Beyonce.
Oh, yeah.
Madonna. Well, that's Austin Powers, isn't
Nope.
it?
It's an Inspector Gadget joke.
Oh, it's right. It's Inspector Gadget.
Rupert Everett
That's
as
it.
the Claw.
Yeah, Claw. One word. Like Madonna.
It's the only good thing in that movie.
Are you trying to say that Matthew Broderick is not a good thing in that film?
It's just, it doesn't quite hit all the notes that I would have wanted it to as even like a 10-year-old child.
Oh my god, I loved Inspector Gadget so much when I was a
The
kid.
cartoon,
It
yeah.
was like one of my favourite cartoons. It was like
Yep.
that, Bucky O'Hare, Transformers, like well, those were my big three, and the real Ghostbusters, obviously. But I loved Inspector Gadget. It was such a great show, and I was really disappointed by the film. Did you see the sequel they did with French stewards?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, did you go to the cinema, did you?
No, I've seen it somehow on some ITV2 mid-afternoon Sunday broadcast, probably.
Yeah.
But tell us about Fear.
So Fear has a heel horror / black magic gimmick of a man dressed all in black in a big black cloak with a black mask, long black hair, who does not actually wrestle and is only ever seen in backstage TV monitors / the Titantron until his eventual comeuppance. Physically wrestling in his place each week instead would be a random wrestler from the crap gimmick roster, baby faces and heels alike, and instead of wearing their usual ring gear, they're dressed in all black versions and even have black contact lenses. They do not do Fear's dirty work by choice, however. They've been possessed.
Ooh,
during
that's good.
during his matches, Fear appears on the Titantron, maniacally laughing and moving his hands as if he's pulling puppet strings as he controls the possessed wrestler in the ring. After his match ends, he releases the trance on the possessed wrestler, often leaving them very confused, before fading away on the Titantron, saying his catchphrase, "The only thing to fear is fear himself."
Himself. Nice. That's you've got a bit of me there because I like the idea of fleshing out. You can effectively have dark versions of all of our crap gimmicks already.
Yeah.
So, like merchandise-wise, we can release our normal Beastmaster, our normal WrestleBot 1000 action figures. But then, for the super collectible editions, you can get WrestleBot 1000 Black.
Oh, do them as like
Variants?
no, yeah, variants. I was Chase variants.
Yes. Yeah. So it'd be the Fear version.
Yeah. Although would they be shelf collectors then?
Yeah, they could be. What they called?
I can't remember what it's called now.
Shelf fillers or something. Yeah. So yeah, I really like that. I love the idea of him appearing on the Titantron.
Maniacally laughing.
Match.
That's what sold me on it. Was like him
Yeah.
doing the puppet strings, like whoa. I think that's really good.
And I think you can hammer that into the ground. That doesn't have to be a short storyline and gone. That's a long-term player.
And actually, you could just have a wrestler that is in his place that he possesses all the time. So it could be like a big giant monster, and then that big giant monster can break out of the trance and fight back against the guy that possessed him, against Fear.
And then Fear can actually eventually have a match, but most of the time, like Fear takeovers,
exactly,
which we would call crapovers.
You'd save those for big events.
Yeah, he would wrestle himself. And then, you've got the ultimate payoff of who really is Fear.
Yeah.
And, the guy, you can take the mask off.
And it's Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
it was me, Austin.
Right. Yeah, I like that. So we'll decide at the end who's signed.
We're not officially signing just yet. Brendan Miller has suggested Chet the Chef Steele. Chet is a wrestler and a chef, hailing from Hell's Kitchen. Chet comes to the ring wearing check chef pants and a sleeveless chef jacket and a large chef hat. He cuts promos where he claims to be a cut above the rest and claims he will carve through the competition. In no DQ matches, his weapons of choice are steel pans, rolling pins, and items of the like. Moves he used include knife-edge chops. When done in succession with a partner, could be called the chopping boards. like that. Knee to the gut, been called the kitchen sink in games. Chet is accompanied to the ring by a guy only known as The Apprentice. The Apprentice is a cowardly foil to Chet's opponents, constantly berated by Chet, only often so he can just shout, "Yes, chef," when tasked to do something. So that is Chet the Chef Steele.
Man, it's a strong week.
I know.
That's 2 good gimmicks already.
Yeah, it is good.
I mean, 2 crap gimmicks.
Yeah.
But 2 well thought out, intriguing crap gimmicks.
I went through a large number of them to find these 2 because these are, I think these are great.
And I like how that could tie in with other food-based characters we have, of which there are a lot.
Yep.
So he could both form a faction with like the Orange or Crispy Bacon, or he can feud against them because he's going after Crispy Bacon's pig.
But we don't want to do what we were just saying with Rey Mysterio, where you just put him in feuds with Latin American wrestlers. You can feud with other people as well. They don't have to be food related.
Not in crap gimmicks, because it's a crap wrestling show. He would only feud with people in his small division. Yeah, we can have a food because we've got the Intercontinental Breakfast Championship. Oh, this is tough. Is it just those 2?
No, I've got 2. Well, okay, so I've got a couple more, but these next 2 are very so. This guy, Matt Brum, sent in. I'd say around 12, but they were all like 3 lines each.
It's not the way to impress us.
Well, wait for it.
Okay.
So first up, we have haiku. Looks like Haku. Likes Japanese-style poems. A bit like this one.
Oh.
Yeah, right?
That turned it around. What a brilliantly formatted pitch.
Yeah.
That is brevity. The power of an edited-down haiku.
Yeah.
Wow, that's strong. Oh, God.
Okay.
And he would cut. I mean, like, that leaves so much open to interpretation.
All of his promos are in haikus as well.
His matches could be structured like haikus. I hit you, you hit me, 1 move pin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, what's the other one?
Susan Sarandon gets most of her bookings based off the fact that her name is 1-letter difference to Academy Award-winning actress. Despite this, her work rate is passable, but she is liked by the locker room. Has no discernible likeness to Susan Sarandon.
Holy moly. Oh, this is a strong week.
Those 2 really made me laugh. Particularly that Susan Sarandon one.
Because that, like, when I think of crap gimmicks, I think of little, what are the travelling theme parks called? Forgotten.
Circuses?
No, like, not with the circus, but you just get like a little festival, and everything's spray painted, obviously committing copyright fraud of some kind.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
Like that, like Susan Sarandon fits into that mould quite well because it's the bait and switch of not actually having Susan Sarandon.
You put Susan Sarandon on a poster, and people say, "Oh my God, Susan Sarandon's having a wrestling match,"
and it's just such like someone you wouldn't think in a million years. Famed 80s actress Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, one-time Friend star Susan Sarandon.
So we've got to choose between these 4.
There's one more yet to come.
What?
Yet.
I mean, this better be good because we've had a bunch.
I was going to say, I'm almost thinking I'm going to end it there. In fact, Thomas O'Connor, I did like your suggestion of the father, but it's not as good as these other ones.
Maybe we save it for another.
We'll save it for next week.
What? Where are you going on this?
I mean, I want to sign all of them.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Particularly Haiku, Susan Sarandon, and and Fear. Like those are the ones that I've got. Good. I've got really big high hopes for them. Like Haiku is very funny.
Okay, so we can.
I mean, we're not limited to only signing 1, right?
Well, Lewis can only draw 1.
Hey man, we just give him a backlog of stuff to work on.
Okay, I'm gonna say Chef's missed out.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
I'm also gonna say Susan's missed out.
Because, I mean, it's a one-time joke. Yeah.
So it's down to Haiku and Fear.
And you really only want to sign 1 of them?
It's more fun to have to choose. I don't want to, like, we've only been doing this kind of format for 3 weeks. Yeah. We don't want to blow our double load on the 3rd week, on the 3rd date.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Oh, it's tough because I really like that haiku one. Really made me laugh.
Haiku's really good.
Haiku's there's a lot of mileage that can be got in
And
there.
the thing about Matt Brum's haiku one is you couldn't add any. You literally couldn't add any more.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the perfect submission. Whereas Fear, I love the concept. There's an argument that you could add in more.
Yeah.
So I've got to go haiku.
You're gonna go haiku.
But I really like Fear. So Brandon Powell, come back to us maybe with a slightly reworked version of Fear. Maybe on another week he'll get signed.
We could put him into a future episode where we can sign him that week instead.
But man, well done, Brum. What's his full name? Brandon.
Matt Brum.
That haiku. Both your suggestions were top notch, but haiku, well done. It's signed. So about 9 days ago, I announced on the WrestleTalk news after a week long of great build.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look who we've got now on the channel as a personality. Just a little 45-second fun dance.
It's less than a minute out of people's days.
And right at the end of one of our videos.
So you could just easily click off and not watch anymore.
But the audience went against me quite strongly.
Yeah.
I personally am a huge fan of Keith Apicary.
Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't finish off who it was.
It's Keith Apicary's dancing. So I said on the Friday that we would be moving Keith to the WrestleRamble show because he went down quite badly in the news.
If I recall, it's the most downvoted video we've ever published.
Mm-hmm. And every thumbs down is like a slap in my face.
It is.
I had a sore face the next day.
It really was. It hurt all of our feelings.
Yeah. But we got it. We misjudged. We misjudged the audience.
We did.
So we do take responsibility on that, and we're trying to find the best way to make it all work because we really like Keith,
mm-hmm.
and also a lot of some people really also like Keith who watch it as well. So we don't want to disappoint them. So we're reassessing. We're trying to figure out something to do that won't offend everyone again.
Yeah.
So watch this space for Keith.
And finally, it's time for the mailbag. If you want to submit a mailbag question, all you've got to do is become a pledge hammer at any level on Patreon, and you can leave in our community that we've got over there, the brilliant community that get in touch with each other each and every single day, and leave your question there, and we'll put it into the mailbag portion of the Saturday episode.
I got a little urge to do this motion when you were talking about Patreons.
Yeah.
You know how some people do that, as a thank you for podcast listeners. I'm doing praying hands. They go,
yeah,
that would be what I was doing while you were talking about pledge hammers. But then I thought that's not something I would do. That feels weird.
I was going to say, when you said you were going to do it, I was like, well, that's very out of character.
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. But that's how much I appreciate the pledge hammers. That thought even crossed my mind.
And we do very much appreciate each and every one of you pledge hammers, like Phil Stopford, who got in touch to
Say
us.
his full name.
Britain's next top model.
That's more
Phil
like
Stopford. Got in touch to ask, what are yours and Ollie's, obviously referring to me, gross out moments? The things that have happened in ring or backstage that have made you cringe and even look away from time to time. We're talking about things like Sid's leg break.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's where my mind immediately goes.
And when I first saw this, he said my second one, which was Joey Mercury's face at Armageddon 2006 after the ladder spot.
That was so dangerous.
Gruesome.
That was from Johnny Nitro back then, wasn't it?
It was Joey Mercury. It was I think it was Jeff Hardy went off the ladder.
Oh, was it Jeff? Right.
Yeah, and it just went. It was a TLC match or something a big ladder match.
Accident.
Total accident.
Yeah, but
his face explodes essentially. It's like a horror film. Absolutely gross. So those are that one in particular was the one that jumped into my head. But actually, I really do feel now it's any time I see what were you think I was going to say?
Well, no, I was going to agree. I was just thinking the same thing.
Anytime I see a disgusting chair shot to their heads,
yeah.
Like when we go back and we watch pay-per-views for WrestleRamble Extra, which is our Patreon podcast, you kind of watch those 2000 pay-per-views or that era pay-per-views, and people are just hitting each other so hard in the face and in the top of their head with steel chairs, and it makes my stomach churn every time. There's some of these that really do make me feel a bit queasy.
Yeah, there's a specific pitch to them as well. Like the high-pitched hits I'm, still make me go, ooh, because it's an unprotected chair shot to the head. I'm like, that's fine. But some of them are just such a low, dull thud.
Oh.
Like, they're not even that loud. And it just makes me Like, I would prefer watching that famous Stevie Richards JBL one, because that's just a loud one, over those dull thuds, which just make me cringe.
And there was, basically almost any other moments from the Masato Tanaka Mike Awesome match at ECW One Night Stand.
How dare you!
I mean, one of the best matches I've ever seen all time, all my life. But there are some spots in that where I'm like, good lord, lads, like, how did you not die doing that? Particularly,
but that's different to gross out moments.
It is different. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, that is different to gross out moments. I was thinking, particularly that reverse power bomb off the top when there's like the table support is sticking up and very much could have impaled them.
Yeah, gross out moments. Anytime Terry Funk bleeds,
he's a good bleeder. Is Terry Funk?
It's a bit too much. I'm struggling to. Have you got any others?
I'm
sure there's loads.
I'm sure there's loads. Like, anytime someone bleeds like a real gusher, I'm thinking Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 19 when he just like pure crimson mask.
Dusty Rhodes' forehead.
Yeah.
That always was that. But when I found out that his forehead was the way it was, just because of the scar tissue from all the blade jobs he did in the 80s, I was like, I can't look at him the same way. It just makes me... Ugh.
Same with New Jack's head as well.
Yeah,
New Jack's got the exact
just
same
New
thing.
Jack.
Actually,
that's just New Jack as a gross out moment.
Yeah, and Devon's got something similar as well from all the blade jobs that he's done over the years.
Actually, now that you mention New Jack, I watched what was it called? It was like the RV incident. It was where a 16-year-old kid was legit beaten up by New Jack in the ring.
Essentially, he had lied about how old he was, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And New Jack just beat the crap out of him, and it's it's weird, like what you mean by gross out. Like gross out is like that's.
Yeah, like Sid breaking his leg is just like, that is legitimately difficult to watch, because actually the other one is Sabu being dropped on his neck.
Oh God!
By Chris Benoit in ECW.
Yeah, that's straight down.
Straight down. Austin at being pile drive by Owen Hart.
Yeah, and that's not like bad to watch, but just knowing in retrospect.
Well, I think even watching it, because you see his head below Owen's legs when he jumps. Ew, disgusting. Right.
Thanks for that nice one, Phil.
Buttered Toast got in touch to ask, favourite promo of all time? Mine by far is Triple H and Shawn Michaels' profanity promo saying they won't swear or use offensive slurs anymore. The promo that ends with Michaels saying that he did not sleep with that woman. He was up all night.
Yeah, well, it's CM Punk's pipe bomb. I don't know what else to say. It's the promo that saved me being a wrestling fan.
I think I that is certainly high up there for me, but I'm actually going to go different with CM Punk instead. And pretty much you could pick any promo from CM Punk and Raven's feud in Ring of Honor. Like, those two, just like two masters of the mic, like working against each other. Like, it was a really great feud, and some amazing work from both men. And lastly, from Jared Conister, I've been playing WWE Supercard for a minute now, and for those who don't know, each wrestler has 4 stats: power, toughness, speed, and charisma. My question is, who would you consider to be the best superstar of the 80s, Attitude, and Modern era in each category?
Oh, right, okay.
For the Ramble, I asked Luke and Ollie who the toughest superstar of each era is. The 80s and Attitude era, the answer is Meng. Like, it's Meng / Haku, legit the toughest man in the entire world.
Oh, okay. So, but this is in each category, though.
Well, yeah, he said for the Ramble, he just wants to know who the toughest superstar of each era was.
Okay. So I don't have to do power, speed, and charisma.
Yeah.
If I was to do all combined, it would be Flair for the 80s. This is a tough question. This is a big question.
But in each category, so would you pick Flair? Like, where's Flair going in the...
Flair wouldn't be in power or toughness. Or I'd just be charisma. But it's like his charisma's at 20 out of 10, as is The Rock. That kind of makes up for most of the other shortfalls.
And, Hogan's got to be in there as well. You want to talk about people who just, like, dripped in charisma.
Yeah, but he's so down on all the other areas, like speed and toughness and power.
Oh, Power Man, he was strong as hell.
He was kayfabe strong as hell.
And he's had this, like, 70-inch pythons or whatever it was.
So what is the question?
Okay.
Who would you consider to be the best superstar of the 80s, 90s in each category?
For the Ramble, so we'll just
do that one.
I ask Luke and Ollie, who is the toughest superstar of the 80s, the Attitude, and the modern era?
Well, I don't really know the 80s. I would probably say Shamrock for the 90s. But you said Meng.
Meng is by far the toughest dude. I mean, I'm only going by that is what wrestlers would tell you, is that Meng is the toughest son of a gun. We told this on a previous WrestleRamble Extra. My favourite Meng story or Meng anecdote, I've got many Meng anecdotes, like how he bit someone's nose off in a bar fight, how cops arrested him and he just like looked up and just broke the handcuffs. He is legit tough. But the story the anecdote rather, that Jake the Snake told in a shoot interview when asked, like, what was it like wrestling Meng? And he's like, if I was standing next to a tank and I had a gun with a bullet, you'd think that, he's mine, right? Nope. If he's charged towards me, I'm going to shoot myself because the last thing I want to do is wound that guy and piss him off.
That's great. What about the modern era?
Modern era, I'd suppose...
Toughest guy. Well, Sin Cara, there's an argument for.
Yep.
Suzuki.
Yes, Minoru Suzuki. You could say Shibata at one point. Ishii. Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's a legit tough dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I'd go with any one of those, really.
Well, that's all we've got time for on this episode. We will have fantasy booking war for you tomorrow. Click the videos that have just turned up on our laps to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk videos, and click this button right here to subscribe to the WrestleTalk podcast with its own exclusive intros and outros. It's totally free. I've been Ollie Davis, that's been Luke Owen, and that was Rambling.